Welcome to Faith in Vegas, presented by KEEN TV 17, a program to inspire and inform our viewers about the unique community in which we live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Faith in Vegas. I'm your host, David Lee. Thanks for joining us. We have a special guest today. Oh my goodness, you might have remembered a previous guest from an earlier episode, Mr. Michael Healea, but today we've got his wife. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Joanne Healea. Thanks for being on the show, Joanne.
Thank you, Dave.
So, Joanne, I knew you as Hans, but
Yes.
now you're Healea.
Yes.
Have you gotten used to it yet?
Not yet. I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah? Like, is it
Love
weird
it, but-
signing your name?
Yes, signing my name has been weird, and then getting everything changed over. What a pain in the butt. But I finally got it all done. And at work, it's a little awkward still. I answer my phone, Healea Hands. But it's okay. It's working out.
Oh, man, I can't wait till you both go to Hawaii, because when you go to Hawaii, your name is going to be Healea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can just imagine, because that's what
amazing.
I thought he was. I thought he was Hawaiian. When I read his name, I was like, can I talk to Mr. Healea? With my Hawaiian accent.
That's awesome.
Because I thought he was Hawaiian,
Yeah.
but no.
Nope,
not.
Haley like the girl's name. Just spelled different.
Yeah, so Joanne, I gotta ask you,
Sure.
where are you originally from?
Originally from Bronx, New York.
What brought you here?
My parents decided that it would be a good idea. My dad actually decided it would be a good idea to come to Vegas. He was not a very good person, so for him to bring us here was kind of the worst decision ever. So he brought us here to live, and I was 6 years old, and my brothers and sisters, I think they were 7 and 10, and I've been here ever since, and I'm 45 today.
My goodness.
So, yeah.
Why, can I ask why that was a bad decision?
He was a gambler and an alcoholic, and he lost his business in New York, and we moved here because basically he lost everything and wanted to start fresh in Sin City.
In Sin City.
Not a good idea for a gambler and alcoholic.
No.
But yeah, I survived it, and thank God, by God's grace, I'm where I'm at today, and that's the truth. So.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine what you went through.
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode.
Okay. So, do you have any moments in Vegas when you felt like your faith was being tested?
Well, I wasn't really sure if I knew who Christ was in my life. Growing up as a kid in New York, we had Jesus all the time. We went to Catholic school. We went to church on Wednesday, church on Sunday, and we went to Catholic school all week long. And so I knew who Jesus was there, and I knew the 10 Commandments and that kind of thing. And when we came to Vegas, I found out our first Christmas there was no such thing as Jesus or Santa Claus. I found out there was no such thing as Christmas, and I thought we were always celebrating Jesus' birthday, but I never really understood, why we weren't having Christmas anymore.
Yeah.
So when I shortly after we moved here, about 8 years later, my dad had a massive stroke. Oh. So my faith from 6 years old to 13, I kind of was on rocky ground. I had no soil to grow in, so to speak, like the Bible speaks about. And so I really struggled with my faith, and I didn't really know if there was a God anymore, and I kind of became an atheist, sort of. Still believed in God, but didn't really know what I believed.
Kind of agnostic?
Kind of agnostic, but I didn't know that's what it was. And then my dad had the massive stroke, was bedridden for the rest of his life, and never the same again. And I said, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in God. And lo and behold, my brother-in-law, who then was just my sister's boyfriend, was this amazing Christian guy from North Carolina. And he says to me, why don't you believe in God? And I tell him, why. And he, of course, he understood, but he says, let me show you the truth. And he broke out a Bible and he showed me the truth. And that night I prayed, to be saved, and I was saved, and I was 13 years old. But when you ask if it was shaken for a long time, because I knew Christ, but then I didn't really know. And I'll tell you what, I praise the Lord for putting the 10 Commandments in my life, and I praise the Lord for the little bit of Christ I had in my life from being a baby till I was 6 years old. I did plays in Catholic school and all that kind of stuff. So I actually learned about Christ. But then when I came here, no growth, no Bible, no nothing, no church family, no home. But then my brother-in-law, and of course he knew a lot about like he was almost like a preacher, you know. He would tell us stuff about God, and we would just sit on the edge of our seats and listen. But it was few and far between, so I never really had that growth either, you know.
Yeah.
And I still didn't have a church for a long time, but I always believed in God from that point forward, and always prayed and always had a relationship. I knew God always wanted me to serve Him and do something for Him. I just didn't know what. And I kept searching and kept searching for many, many more years. So
what was the tipping point that confirmed your faith in God?
I lost my son. I was pregnant. This is fast forward now. I was 20-something years old, and I was pregnant with my second baby, and full-term pregnancy, ready to deliver a week later. And I go to my a pregnancy checkup kind of thing, and they were going to do an ultrasound, and there's no heartbeat. And I was like, what do you mean there's no heartbeat? You know, and again, I believed in God. I just didn't have a church home and that kind of thing. And I prayed and everything. And I go to the hospital. They make me go over to UMC, and they hook me up, and they say, yeah, there's no heartbeat. You know, your baby's dead and all that kind of stuff. Well, I harbored that anger with me for about 4 years after they induced labor and all that stuff. And I gave birth to a passed away baby. And I buried him and everything. He was born June 6th of 1992. And for about 4 years, I was upset with God. I hated God again. I went through that whole thing. And I started going to church at that point because after we lost Alan, we started searching for a church. So I got my kids in church, and we started going to a church called El Camino Baptist Church. And I went to a Women of Faith conference. And when I was there, you know, I loved the Lord, and I was praising Him and singing and everything. And it was a really amazing week of singing and gospel, the gospel being presented, you know, the whole week. And I didn't know there was a sermon on stage. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but it brought me to my knees. And from that point forward, I basically came before the Lord the way He says, basically I could go boldly before His throne. Mm-hmm. And I did. And I cried, and I was on my knees, and I just broke down, and I gave it to Him. I was actually scared of death and scared of like if I was going to see my son one day or hear the crying. Like I don't know, I just had really bad nightmares about it. It was almost like post-traumatic a little bit. But from that day forward, when I gave that to God, and I said, this is your battle. You said you would fight this for me. And I don't want to be afraid anymore. I don't want to be sad. And I don't want to be mad at you anymore for taking my son. And from that point forward, my foundation in the Lord was secure. And I just knew that that heartbreaking thing was gone. It wasn't no more on my, like that monkey was off my back, so to speak. So, but that was a life changer for me. Yeah, 4 years of drama with that.
That was heavy.
Yeah, it was big. Sorry.
Oh, wow. I'm going to let you guys think about that for a minute, and we'll be right back after these messages. All right, and we're back. We're still here with Joanne. Mm-hmm. Joanne, you were talking about, we were talking off camera about how you let your anger go and how people, try to substitute that with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
I think a lot of times we go through character building moments in our life on purpose. There's a reason that God brings us through things or to things so we can get through those things, so we can actually help other people that are struggling through them. But a lot of people, especially in this town, based on my training, my experience of what I do, they get caught up in the covering up their pain with alcohol, with drugs, or with crime, or living that life. And what ends up happening is they never face that emotion. They never face the reason why their kids hate them, or the reason why their parents turn their back on them, and all the things that they've done in their life because they've continued to choose to cover everything up with drugs and alcohol, or some type of abuse, whatever it is. And I think, honestly, we have to go through those character building moments in our life to actually make us better people, so we can stand before other people and tell them our story. Yeah. And without those moments, without those heart-wrenching, character-building, life-changing events in our life, we cannot witness to other people and tell them, hey, I understand what you're going through. because you really don't. If you've never faced them. Like when I was going through my weight loss journey, I would never ever ask somebody that was 300 pounds, how do you lose weight? Or listen to the people, the naysayers at work and say, oh, how you should lose weight is this way. And they look like they haven't been to a gym in their whole life. Yeah. Why would I listen to somebody that doesn't know my pain, never been through my struggle, doesn't understand, how I was? So it's the same thing if they're, when you have pain in your life and you have struggles, people will listen to people that have been through it before. And they yearn for it. They want direction, they want help. And I just think that too many people in this town especially, they use drugs and alcohol to cover up the pain. And I always say our emotions are like a backpack. Have you ever heard that analogy?
Yes.
And if you continue to stuff your backpack, you end up eventually bursting at the seams. And it's the same thing with our emotions. You have to face them. We're human beings. We're emotional creatures. And facing them, it's almost a beautiful thing, but a lot of people are scared to face their emotions, and that's one of the reasons why they cover it up with drugs and alcohol. Very sad to me.
Oh, man,
so
yeah. And you mentioned you work in a correctional facility.
Yeah, I work in the jail for the police department here, and I've been a corrections officer for a little over 11 years, and I've been working for the police department for about 17 years. This September will be 17. I absolutely love what I do, and I work around male and female inmates, and currently working in a female dorm. And I deal with every walk of life, mentally ill, drug addicts, normal, everyday, first-time citizens, scared out of their mind with their big eyes, never been in jail before, not even a traffic ticket. I think the oldest lady in my unit right now is about 75 years old. And 75 years old, first time ever in jail. She got caught up with a DUI case, and they charged her with felony DUI. Because she caused an accident and substantial bodily harm. But ultimately, she had a medical condition. This is her story. She had a medical condition that caused her to have the accident. And in the process of them checking her body, she tested positive for something that they're claiming was current, and she's claiming it was metabolized in her system. I don't know if that's true or not, but she's definitely a first-timer. She's definitely not somebody that belongs in jail. Yeah. At 75 years old, she's just, or 74 years old. She's just not a normal candidate. You would never see a grandma like that in jail. Yeah. So, but she's the sweetest lady, and I deal with her very professionally. She's not like most of the inmates. You could tell. You can clearly see first-timers out of the rest of them. So, yeah.
So you're allowed to, you mentioned you minister to them.
I do. We're not supposed to talk about God or anything, but what I do is if they bring it up to me first, then I'm okay. Yeah. A lot of times they come up and ask me my opinion, and I'll tell them I can't share my personal life with you, but I'll tell you what I think about that or something like that. Yeah. And a lot of times it's always an open door for me to talk about Christ. And as long as they're not offended or anything like that, and I'm not pushing it down their throat, but usually they know that I'm a Christian. A lot of times they know I'm a Christian because of my walk. I carry myself very professionally. I talk to them. I always put myself in that position. God forbid I was in jail. And I don't know if I told you my story, but when I was hell on wheels from 13 to 15, I was telling you that I got saved at 13. Yeah. But I didn't have really any structure for a long time, and I kind of started to do bad, but I still loved the Lord. And I actually went to juvie for a day, and my mom would not come and get me.
No way.
So that was life-changing for me. That was when I realized I would never be on that side of the road again, never be on that side of the path. But that scared me to the point where I knew I did not want to go down that road of life of crime kind of thing. Yeah. So when I talk to the inmates, I share my story with them. And a lot of times they don't think there's hope. And I tell them, there's two things that motivate the human spirit. One of them is pain, and one of them is pleasure. If you continue down the path of pleasure, and you find more pleasure in doing the drugs, running from your problems and not facing life, and doing the drugs is more pleasurable than being away from your family, letting your kids be raised by the state, coming to jail every other week, and this isn't painful, but this is more pleasure, then you're going to continue down that path. If you choose to because now that you're straight, you're in jail, you've been clean a month or a week, and now you're feeling the pain of being away from your kids and your family, and you're looking and going, oh my gosh, what have I done? Yeah. This big old tornado you left behind you in your path. Now you're going, oh my gosh, I need Jesus, I need God, I need this and that. And, and I understand that, but he understands your heart. And you can't use him for crisis management. And it boils down to, you have to face your pain, you have to face your fears, and you have to deal with what you've done. Your past doesn't equal your future. This is what Tony Robbins teaches. He's one of the leaders that I love. But your past doesn't equal your future, but you move forward and you learn from it. And I always say the only time I look back is to see how far I've come. So I always use my story of me going to jail or juvie when I was a kid, and running the streets and drinking underage and doing all the bad things I did as a kid, to let them know I can relate to them. Because if you can't relate to them, they're not going to respect you. And in order for you to build respect, you got to have some kind of rapport. And to build rapport, you have to relate. So it's kind of like this little vicious circle. You got to kind of relate. Find your little avenue. Maybe it's fitness. Maybe it's that they're a Christian too, or maybe it's that, hey, I've been to jail at one time too, and this is how I pulled myself out of it. And that's kind of my heart. And I always share my heart. And that's, I think, one of my favorite quotes, and I say it all the time, is John C. Maxwell says that people don't care how much you know until you show them how much you care. Yeah. And it boils down with inmates, it boils down with your coworkers, it boils down with you and me. People don't care what you have to say unless you share your heart first. And if they see your heart, they're going to want to do whatever they can to help you, or to listen to you, or to respect you in the moment that you need them to. So I've learned so much about mental health and about people and human behavior, and very grateful for my career, and of course my salvation and everything that comes along with all the things I've been through in my own life. So
that's some journey. Oh my goodness. And I want to hear more.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Good.
We'll be right back after this. See you in a bit. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around. I'm still here with Joanne. We're having a great conversation.
Yes.
You know what? Your life is just so full of adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you always know that you were going to be a correctional officer?
No, I didn't actually. I was. This is where another story comes in.
All right, let's do this.
I was married for about 25 years, and during that 25 years, it wasn't a great marriage. I'll just put it nicely. And there was a lot of challenges. And one of the things I wanted to do, based on my experience with my mom, basically being the breadwinner after my dad had a stroke at 13, I knew that I always wanted to work. I wanted to be a working mama. I wanted to be a fit, healthy, mama. But I had a situation where I couldn't, because my husband at the time was not secure enough in himself to allow me to become the person I wanted to be. So I had to fight to be where I am today, if you can understand what I'm saying. Not literally physically fight, but stand my ground and to basically say I'm going to work. And then when my youngest daughter was 6 years old, I went to him and I said, you said I can work, and I'd really like to get a job now. And of course there was a lot of negative things that were said, and discouraging things to me as well. And I said, I'm going to still do this. You promised me. So I went out and I got tested, and 9 months later I was hired on by the police department. And it was the biggest life-changing thing that ever happened to me at that point, and it was the most positive thing that had happened to me as well. Working in the atmosphere I work and being around inmates and eventually becoming a corrections officer, I learned about manipulation and con games. And I started to realize and recognize that that's kind of what I was living with and dealing with every day. But I didn't have the courage to kind of stand up for myself yet. But I did eventually. It took me about 11 more years of working for the department, and I finally said, I'm done. But I think the challenge was, in my mind, I wanted to also make my mom very happy and please her, even though she had already passed. She worked for the police department for almost 20 years, and I never got to work with her, unfortunately. She died before I hired on, but I always wanted to make her proud, and when she died in 96, that was kind of a changing point in my life, and I realized I'm in a controlling situation, and I either need to break out of this or I need to leave, one of the two. And so I tried to bring him along for the ride, so to speak, but he wasn't willing to mold and bend. And then when my youngest was 6, I finally said, you promised, I'm going to work. Yeah. And that's when I finally got my job. And again, that was another changing point, and it kind of started to sever the relationship a little bit. And then I just, kept moving forward, and then I wanted to be a corrections officer because that was something my mother wanted me to do. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And of course, it took me 2 academies to go through. I don't know if Michael ever shared my story with you, but I had a complete right hip replacement in 2000. And or 2006, I can't remember. 2006. I've only had it for 13 years, so 2006,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So when I had that was 9 months later. I was in my first academy. I didn't make it. I made it halfway through because I wasn't strong enough yet. And then I went ahead and hired a personal trainer. Not Michael, unfortunately. I didn't meet him yet, but I knew.
Yeah.
It's funny how that happened. But I hired a personal trainer for about a year, and I got fit as a fiddle as best I could. I got down to about 175 at that point, from 200 and something pounds to 175. And I went through the academy, and I was one of the strongest women. I was able to do 62 push-ups and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I rocked it, and I made it. And when I crossed the stage, one of the things I was told was that was the first time my ex-husband at the time respected me, is what he told me. It's the first time I ever had respect for you. Wow. And I thought, yes, I'm definitely done. At this point, it was done. That was kind of the confirmation for me. Mm-hmm. So I decided at that point I had to start to make kind of like a way for myself to leave and get out of that controlling environment. So when you ask me if I had ever thought I was going to be a corrections officer, I never thought I could, but I always had the desire in the heart. And I've always been that person. Once I set my mind to something, I get it done, and I don't cut corners. Now I might try and fail, but we fail our way to success. That's some of the most good leadership people out there will tell you we fail our way to success. Yeah. Les Brown says it all the time, so I believe it, and I'm making my way. I'm still working on things.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet, but yeah.
Quite a road. Yeah. Speaking of roads,
okay.
You mentioned in one of your captions, God really did bless the broken road.
Oh yes.
There's got to be a story behind that.
Well, all the things I've been through, you know, and then a broken 25-year marriage, and losing a baby, and all the things I went through to get where I'm at today. Mm-hmm. And I just kept, that I would hear that song. I love Rascal Flatts, and I would hear that song, and I would say to myself, "Oh my gosh, that's so my theme song. I just need the best man in the whole world to be a part of that, Yeah. And I swear to you, I kept setting my sights high, and then when I went through being single for so long, I finally started setting my sights for high. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of frogs out there, unfortunately, especially in this town. And one of the things I kept doing was kind of like I would find myself rationalizing the irrational stuff that I was dealing with. Mm-hmm. And that was part of me being on the crazy bus, so to speak. And after the divorce and after a horrible another relationship for about 2 years, I said, I need to fix me. And that's when I said, enough is enough. I was kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired, so to speak. So I put myself in counseling for about 2 years. And during that counseling, I really started to value myself and to learn about me. And one of the best things I could have done was I sat down and actually wrote down what I hated about myself and what I wanted to change. And one of them was my weight, and one of them was not feeling respected at work. Just a lot of things. I wanted to live for a long time. I wanted to be healthy and fit. All the things I've ever wanted. I've always wanted to be a little gymnast. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be a gymnast. All the things I ever wanted, and it never came to fruition because I never had support or people there to inspire you, Yeah. And so I finally said, okay, I'm going to start doing me. So I started to research how to eat. And my girlfriend at work told me about eating clean, and that led to what you see today. I started to eat clean, and then started to do kickboxing for about a year, I think it was. I did boot camp for about 9 months, and then during that whole time, I was working out, going to the gym, anything I could do, and then I started to do road biking last year and a half ago, and I literally was riding my road bike about 200 miles a week. I was riding. Running 1 5K once a week, once every other week, and I was doing boot camp 5 to 6 days a week. And I was plateauing like crazy, and I was dying. I was like, what is wrong with me? Well, now I know. Michael, my husband, has taught me now, but I was overtraining and under-eating, and who knew? I had no idea. There's a science behind it when you get so low, Yeah. But I figured it out, and because of that, during that whole time, I just kept hearing, how you hear songs or you hear things, and man, that's my theme song, and honestly, that's the truth. God, has blessed the broken road. And when I found Michael, like I said, I was setting my sights really high because I dealt with a lot of drama. And I said, if there's a red flag, that means run. It doesn't mean rationalize it away.
Yeah.
It means the guy can't pay his bills, or he's irresponsible, or he's abusive, or he's controlling. Done, you know. Well, I met Michael and I thought, oh my gosh, where is the red flag? He's got to have a red flag. And we just kept talking, and we clicked and clicked and clicked, and here we are today, and now I'm his wife. And I'll tell you right now, he's more than I've ever prayed for. He's more than I ever hoped for. And I told him that in my wedding vows, and I truly mean it. Like, he's the most amazing man ever. And I'm very blessed. God has truly blessed this girl right here. For whatever reason, I have no idea. And I've had to go through a lot of character building moments to get here, but I wouldn't change any of it for anything. So.
Wow. Now, before we go, we got to close the show real soon.
Sure.
But before we go, do you have any advice for a brand new trainer helping his spouse reach their fitness goals? Because I know when I'm training clients, I'm training clients.
Yes.
But when you're training your spouse, it's a different story.
It is. It kind of is. Well, dating Michael, during that time I was dating him, he was very firm with me. And I thought, gosh, you're rude sometimes. And I would tell him. And he would be like, look, I talk to my clients the same way. You know, like if I'm talking and I'm not supposed to be talking when I'm supposed to be doing weights or something. Come on, stop talking, move along, you know. Gosh, you're rude, I would tell him. But then I start to realize, wow, he's firm with everybody. So be firm. That's one thing. But also be loving, and because she is your wife, and she's not your client technically, you know. But I would definitely say be firm and go through the trenches with her, work out with her, because that's something I work out. When in the beginning I would work out with Michael, and of course any days I have off, like a vacation, he's with me in the gym, so spend that time with her, because that's awesome, you know, private, intimate, loving time like that. And just, I don't know, make it fun. Michael makes it fun. Everything we do, we get along, and you know, he makes it fun. I love being with him, so I yearn to have that time with him in the gym, and then be a wealth of information for her, because information is power, but if you never share it, it's not powerful. You have to share it, and it's like knowledge in a book. It sits on a shelf, does nothing. But if you give it to her, you might inspire her to change things. So, and definitely keep your nutrition simple. And you know, I'm not the nutritionist, but that's what I did, is I keep it simple. You know, less than 5 ingredients. If I don't know what it is, I don't eat it. And portion control everything. And lots of water, you know, but keep it simple for her, because, you know, as a wife, you want to please, and she's probably used to cooking with lots of ingredients. I have simplified it down to caveman days, I swear to you. And Michael loves everything I make. So just keep it simple, don't make it so complicated. And that's about the only thing I can tell you. That's what works for me. So.
Yes. Thank you,
You're
Joanne.
welcome, honey. You're
so
welcome.
glad to have you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And that is our show, everybody. Thank you for watching Faith in Vegas. This is Joanne Healea.
Yes.
I'm David Lee. Aloha.
Thanks for watching Faith in Vegas, a presentation of KEEN TV 17. We hope you've enjoyed today's program, and we'd love to hear your comments and suggestions for the show. You can contact KEEN TV 17 at the address on the screen.